welcome to Global Issues and Answers. My name is Grace Aaron. I'm your host today, and this is May 23rd, 2006. So if you're watching this in 2009, you'll know that if we say things that don't sound really right, it's because it was taped on May 23rd, 2006. And my special guest is Aida Thomas. She's a very good friend of mine. We're both ex-members of the Church of Scientology. We still consider ourselves Scientologists, at least partially Scientologists, even though we don't agree with the current regime that's running the most formal part of the religion, or the most well-known part of the religion. This is so confusing. Aida, why don't you explain this?
Well, you know that Scientology has many groups and many organizations all over the world. Mm-hmm. But the moment that somebody disagrees with the current management, they get expelled. Mm-hmm. So now, as a result of that, many groups have sprouted all over the world. There's some groups in Canada practicing Scientology that is not under the blessings of the church. There's many groups here all over the United States, in Greece, Spain, Australia, New Zealand, Japan even.
And what is this? There is one, you belong to an umbrella group that kind of loosely communicates. It's like a network. And what is it called?
Yes. First of all, there's what is called the free zone, and this is all the Scientologists that practice whatever they consider is that they want to practice. But we are one particular group that is called the International Free Zone Association, and we adhere ourselves to the rules and to the technology as it was developed by L. Ron Hubbard without the slightest change or alteration. And now, thanks to the internet, we can be connected, all of us, with each other, and within seconds. Like, for example, the executive director of our organization, Michael Moore, lives in Canada.
Australia. Right?
And then the persons in charge of the qualifications division, per se, or the technology, they live in Canada. I live in Los Angeles, some people live in the United Kingdom, and so on, and we are what you would say an electronic organization.
Mm-hmm. And Aida is a very highly trained Scientologist. She's a Class 8 auditor, counselor, and it took her many years to get to that level in Scientology. Is that correct?
Yes, I came 25 years ago from Mexico to train as a professional counselor in the technology of Scientology, and I got as high as to what would be the equivalent of, what would you say in the United States, doctor degree or master's degree.
Like a PhD, and it takes a long time.
Yes, because you have to do internships just like you do in any, like, College of Medicine.
Yes. Yes, it's a serious subject.
Oh, yes, you have to be a very professional because people's lives are in your hands.
So when you train, when you spend tens of thousands of dollars to get this training, and years of your life in the process, and your income is dependent upon your status in the Church of Scientology to some degree,
right.
It's really bad when you get kicked out. I mean, it kind of collapses your whole life.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yes? No, you were going to ask me.
And it happens to a lot of dedicated Scientologists, that practicing Scientologists, that they get kicked out for no good reason usually.
Right. In the last 15 or 20 years, hundreds of thousands of Scientologists have been kicked out. Many in the last 10 years left on their own because they
I don't know hundreds of thousands, Aida, because I don't think there are hundreds of thousands of Scientologists during that point.
But many Scientologists have been kicked out, and many of them left on their own because they were very fed up with the regime. And as a result of that, they are now practicing Scientology outside the auspices of the Church of Scientology. But they don't like that, so therefore, when you start practicing the freedom of religion and trying to practice your own religion, the church considers you a suppressive person, a criminal.
That's what it's called. It's called officially, when you're kicked out and they really don't like you, they call you a suppressive person.
That's correct.
Meaning an evil person.
Right.
An antisocial personality, that's what it denotes.
It will be like the how did you say?
Heretic?
The heretic in the Catholic Church, and
Yes.
then you get ostracized by your friends, by your family, by your associates. So now a big Scientology movement is being created outside the Church of Scientology, like I said, all over the world.
Yeah, I know two women. To give you an example, one woman, Patty Brain, was expelled because she was so horrified by the way that children were treated in one particular Scientology organization. This is about 20 or 25 years ago, and she was trying to get it rectified internally within the organization, but was not successful. So she went to the media about it. Because to her, the children's lives and well-being were more important than, than the feelings of the adults in the church. Right. So she went to the press and she got kicked out, and one of her children has not spoken to her in many, many, many years because of that. Another example, a similar one, is another friend of mine, completely disrelated to Patty, also objected to the poor treatment of children in the Sea Organization. And she also got expelled from the church. And, the church made a whole story about what her intentions were. They said that she and her sisters had joined the Sea Organization with the intention all along to steal the upper-level information and to get copies of it and to take it outside of the church and to practice outside the church. And that was not what happened at all. So the church makes these... I'm just giving two examples of people who did really the right thing and were kicked out of the church for doing it.
Right. Well, L. Ron Hubbard wrote what is called the Creed of Scientology.
Yes.
And one of the points is the freedom of speech.
Yes.
And the other point is the freedom of religion. Yet when you want to practice your freedom of speech and say exactly what you think, you get in trouble.
Right.
So there is no such thing as freedom of speech inside the Church of Scientology. There is no such thing as freedom of religion.
Currently, because, when I got into Scientology in the 1970s, we had total freedom of speech.
Yes, I was going to say that. I remember that there used to be that thing, remember, the rabble rouse, and you could just write whatever you want, yes. And if you didn't like it, you could even write it and send it directly to L. Ron Hubbard, and then somebody would come and take care of it with you and make, things go right if there was something you didn't like.
And as you all can see, Aida and I are very outspoken. And we've been outspoken our whole lives.
That's right.
And we never got into trouble inside Scientology, even though we were very outspoken, until recently. The regime, I'm sure that some people were kicked out unjustly from the church in the past, but now it's gotten to any kind of small criticism of Scientology management.
Yeah, particularly in the last 8-10 years, it is impossible to say anything. Ron says that some criticism is merited, and
yes.
It is good so that you can improve the situation. But now any criticism, they consider it like inside the church is called natter, which means carping criticism in an effort to destroy the target that you are criticizing. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But now they call everything natter. Everything to them, the slightest thing is carping criticism and is destructive. So you can no longer practice your freedom of speech at all, unless it's to say good things.
And that's not, it's very funny because we know so many people who've had so many different experiences in Scientology, in one aspect of it or another. I know a person, for instance, who she's a very dedicated Scientologist, makes her living as a Scientology counselor, yet almost all of her experience with Scientology has been outside of the Church of Scientology. So it's very interesting, and there are people who've had exact opposite experience for me and Aida, where it's been completely bad the whole time. It's a kind of a large organization with a lot of dedication and a lot of practice involved.
Yes, I have a very big reputation because I'm bilingual, and I contributed to Scientology in many aspects. I was an internationally known counselor. I received many awards. I, cooperated with the church in many different things and helped them in many ways. And then when I said I disagree with this alteration of the technology of the Scientology or the scriptures of Scientology, I was a persona non grata instantly.
Yes,
and my international reputation went to nothing.
Something you took 20 years to build up.
Yes.
Your whole life,
Yes.
your profession.
Exactly, and then in the creed of Scientology, they talk about freedom of religion, and I have a friend right now who lives in Kitchener, I think is the town in Canada, because he's practicing his religion of Scientology outside the auspices of the church. His sister is very upset at him and is no longer talking to him. Talk about freedom of religion.
Yeah, that's right. Why, if someone really believes in freedom of religion, then they should be tolerant of other people's beliefs or non-beliefs.
Exactly, and because of that suppression in the area of people wanting to practice Scientology in their own way, many people that left the church are now all over the place, and like what we call this program, they are in what is called the free zone. And right now, one of the biggest groups in the world is in Russia. And they have a lot of members, and they're really flourishing and prospering. But again, it's not under the Church of Scientology.
I'll tell you a little bit about my experience. Somebody might ask, for instance, well, if somebody gets kicked out of the church, can they get back in? And it's really not easy at all, because what happens is if you try to get back in good standing, you have to follow a certain set of procedures. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to be pay money to be interrogated, usually for things you didn't do, and it can be large sums of money. So for me, for instance, because my husband did not repudiate me, and he stuck by me, it would have been the two of us would have had to receive an enormous amount of counseling, supposedly, so that we could get ourselves straightened out.
What,
supposedly
in the $20,000s of dollars or something?
Much more than that. It probably would have cost us between $40,000 and $60,000 right off the bat, and that's not. And we would not have necessarily been accepted back into the church. So we looked at each other. Now our older son, our oldest son, Zach, has not communicated to us in 6 years, because the church told him that he had to choose between his religion and his family. So anyway, I realized that our younger son, Johnny, wanted to go to college, and I was not willing to throw away his college education.
Of course not.
To pay this extortion money to the Church of Scientology. So it's like this Scientology uses the doctrine of disconnection or religious shunning to intimidate people and also to extort money from them in certain instances.
Yeah, and they also use the parishioners to control their lives and everything, because you don't want to be expelled of Scientology, because you're going to lose a lot. And like my son, for example, was ordered to come to the organization, and he went to see what was going on, and he was asked if he was still connected with me, and he was ordered to disconnect from me. My own son. For
Pretty
what?
Terrible, huh?
Pretty terrible, yes.
Another person I know, the father had been declared suppressive, and later on his daughter decided she wanted to join Scientology, and but she wanted to stay in good communication with her father. So the church said, well, the first thing that had to happen was the father had to not be allowed to talk to his own wife and his own daughter until he did all these steps, which was going to take 2 or 3 years.
And a lot of money.
And the mother was not allowed to talk to the father or their daughter, and the daughter was not allowed to talk to either of her two parents until this whole very complicated thing.
Complicated, yes.
So anyway, even though Aida and I know all of this about Scientology, the other side of it is that there's a lot of what we've thought to be very, very valuable stuff in Scientology. And can you think of one particular thing that you really like about Scientology?
Well, there's a lot of things I really like about Scientology. For example, the study technology. It teaches people how to study better. There's a lot of problems right now in our schools today, not only in the United States, but in other countries. And this type of technology helps the children to really learn and achieve abilities to appreciate school and to become good professionals and have success in life. That's one of my favorite technologies, the study technology. We do have another one because I studied law. I like very much the ethics technology. I know a lot of people don't like it because it has been harshly applied inside the Church of Scientology, but the ethics technology is actually an excellent tool to improve in business, to improve in your marriage, to improve in your life in general. I really like the subject of ethics.
So can you give me one little ethics tool that you like, as an example?
Well, for example, the conditions. And let's say that, let's talk not personal life. Let's say your business is not doing well, and then there is a series of conditions which has a series of steps that if you follow them, you get out of that lower condition into a higher and a better condition, and then you survive better. Like, let's pick up danger. Danger has a list of steps, and one of them is to find out what you did that was wrong, make a list of all the things and own them, like decide, yes, I did this wrong, and write it down, and then you make policies in your life so that this doesn't happen again. And I think that is very good, because how many people out there are making the same mistake over and over again, and they don't know what to do? Or like the condition of doubt. You don't know, you're in a relationship, you don't know if you should get out of that relationship, you don't know how to go about it, and then the condition of doubt gives you how to compare this situation with this situation. And see, and then from looking at both of them from an exterior point of view, then you can decide what to do on that relationship or on that job, or if you want to get a new job, except I like the conditions.
Yes. Yeah, what I like is, if I had to say what was one of my favorite things in Scientology, it's that there are very, very, very simple memory exercises. It's amazing that I've only seen this in Scientology because it's so idiot simple. It's like a list of questions to help a person remember things in their past. Then when they've done this for quite a while and they are able to enhance their memory capability and remember things better and more vividly, generally people, without any prompting, start to recall past lives. And to be able to recall past existences just from actually improving your memory, because the memory we've found in Scientology just acts like a muscle acts. The more you exercise it, the better it becomes. And when you start to recall your past existences, you can kind of retrieve certain abilities and knowledge from the past.
Right, you're talking about self-analysis.
Yes, self-analysis.
Some of it you can
It's a book called Self-Analysis by Hubbard.
Right, and that one you can even do it yourself.
You can do it on yourself.
It's like the exercises that you do every day for your body, but this one is for your mind.
Yes.
You grab the book, read the question, and then you can either answer in a piece of paper or think about it and recall, and then your mind will start opening more and more and more every day until it opens completely, and you can go to your past lives, even by yourself without hypnosis or drugs.
Right, exactly.
I like that a lot. That was what actually got me interested in Scientology, because I think it's very important to remember those things.
Oh, for sure, definitely. I think that, I believed in past lives before getting involved with Scientology.
So did I, yes.
And to me, I had a reality on spiritual existence, and there are a lot of things in Scientology that people might disagree with if they're atheists, and that's a whole argument. If you're an atheist, you're an atheist.
Yeah,
you
but
believe
that's a
in
whole
materialism.
different subject.
That's a whole different subject.
Yes.
But I was dissatisfied with my study of yoga and Eastern religions, which also those religions believe in past existences. But in Scientology, there was actually a way to remember your your own past lives. Which
that's what got me excited about Scientology, because I was raised with freedom of thinking. My father was an intellectual bohemian, and he thought his children should decide when they grow up what they wanted to believe in. So I went and studied all the religions, and I practiced them and see which one I would like, and I went into Buddhism and yoga and all of those Oriental religions, and I really liked them a lot. But they did not give you a path, an exact series of steps. And sometimes in order to achieve this higher level of spirituality or awareness, it would take a long, long time. So I got discouraged. And when I found about Scientology, it's like this, anybody can just grab self-analysis book and start and read and start doing something about it. Anybody can read the ethics book and start applying it on their lives and improve it.
And I would suggest that before, I mean, there are a lot of now Scientology practitioners operating outside the official Church of Scientology, because as far as we're concerned, the official Church of Scientology has really corrupted the religion itself. That's my opinion.
No, it is. I have proof here of these books where they change and totally alter that technology.
Yes, and they've added in a lot of negative stuff that doesn't belong in the religion. And anyway, you know, the religion is a huge thing, and I think that Scientologists should be able to use what they like and not use what they don't like.
Right.
You know, you can't really get any benefit from forcing yourself to utilize something that is not, that you don't agree with or you don't understand properly. But there's so much in there that you can get benefit from, in my opinion.
Right, and that's what's happening in the free zone. In the free zone, there's different, how would you say in English, currents of, or follows or beliefs within the philosophy.
Right.
They have their own way of doing it. Like, for example, in Russia, after a series of steps, they follow a different path that they would follow in Canada or in Los Angeles.
So you get to pick and choose what you really want to, what you're really interested in.
Yes, that's what the free zone is.
There's some competition, and it's not as, well, it's freer.
Right.
Obviously.
Right.
And not all Scientologists agree. I mean, even people who keep their mouths shut and toe the line inside the Church of Scientology, almost everybody that I've talked to inside the church, before and after getting kicked out, because I do still talk to people who are still loyalists.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends who are still inside Scientology that still talk to me. I lost very many, but you'd be surprised.
Oh, yeah.
I still have some.
Me too, many. And but anyway, there's hardly anybody inside the Church of Scientology who agrees with the disconnection policy.
Nobody does.
Nobody
does. It's just that people disconnect because they're very afraid that they are not going to find all the rest of the steps that you do in Scientology to achieve higher spiritual levels, and they think you can only achieve them inside the Church of Scientology. So they disconnect because of that, but what they don't know is that there is the free zone.
Right.
And it's all over the world.
Yes.
It's everywhere, and they can do the rest of the steps of Scientology if they want to do so.
From the bottom to the top, all of it is available outside of the official church, in case anyone doesn't know this. For new people...
And it's standard, and it's exactly per L. Ron Hubbard's writings. There is no alteration of the scriptures like you did.
You know that it's not all going to be standard.
Well,
it never was all standard inside the church.
That is true. Not all of them are going to do it exactly. You're right.
Let's be realistic.
Yes.
You always have to be on guard. And the best thing to do, I mean, you know, you can go to used bookstores, and a lot of used bookstores, especially in Los Angeles or where there are larger Scientology communities, or on eBay, you can buy used Scientology books for next to nothing, and sit and read them, because you know, that's what's really going to get you. If you're really interested in spiritual exercises, the creation of human ability has a whole bunch of very interesting spiritual exercises, don't you think?
Yes, I have read that book about 3 times. I use it all the time with myself, and I use it as well with the people I give counseling to. It's a very, very interesting book, and it has a lot of procedures on practicing spirituality.
Yes, another book. And these are all where you don't even need to find a you don't have, all you have to do is pay for the book.
You don't even have to be a Scientologist.
No, you don't even have to be a Scientologist. Exactly. The other one is Handbook for Pre-Clears. Has a lot of good procedures in it, and we're almost out of time. Is there anything else that you wanted to say, Aida?
That's all. That's all. Thank you very much for inviting me and
yeah, I
for
really
letting me
enjoyed
talk.
it.
Yeah, and for letting me talk about the free zone.
Okay, and as I said, as I'd like to say, you know, some of the opinions here are just our opinions, and I may not agree with Aida, she may not agree with me. This is a journalistic type of show, and it's not meant to reflect as the official opinion of any organization or group. Thank you very much for listening. If you want further information, the rollout in a couple of seconds will give you my personal phone number and email address. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.
De Alto Cedro voy para Marcané, llego a Puerto, voy para Mayarín. De Alto Cedro voy para Marcané, llego a Puerto, voy para Mayarín. De Alto Cedro voy para Marcané, llego a Puerto, voy para Mayarín. El cariño que te tengo no te lo puedo negar. Se me sale la babita, yo no lo puedo evitar.